Good evening. Welcome to CL's LST channel. Welcome to Reading Comprehension with me. My name is Savitri Krishnamurthy. I teach English and law at CL, and today we will again be looking at reading comprehension. This is a series of classes on reading comprehension. If you can see me and hear me clearly, give me a thumbs up so that I can start the session. Can you see me and hear me? Good evening, Adita. Good evening, Divyansh, Deeptashi, Mukti Sharma. Good evening to all of you. All right. As you know, we have this session based mostly on editorials. Oh, my voice is echoing. Let me lower the sound to zero. Ah, okay. Good evening, Tanvi. Good evening, Aman. Lot of you good joining. I hope more join in. So we take an editorial that I find interesting, and this is today's editorial: the Supreme Court ruling on Prevention of Money Laundering Act. I'm trying to see if I can get as many articles which can combine both general knowledge for you, little bit of law, and of course our objective is reading comprehension. We're not going to look at the legal aspect, we're only looking at reading comprehension, maybe a couple of reasoning questions also. I might do passages on reasoning, but the key is to improve your reading skills, to improve your comprehension skills, and to make sure that you answer questions correctly and accurately, and you fall in love with reading. Once you read, the entire CLAT paper is based on reading skills. Even GK is based on your reading skills. Critical reasoning based on your reading skills, which is why we are building your reading skills. All right. Okay. As always, I will give you a minute to a minute and a half. Let me put my timer on for each slide. Please read it, and as you read it, see if you can simplify it in your own words so that you remember the key points. Your time starts now. Start. When you're done reading, do put done in the chat box so that I know how much time I should give for each slide. All right. Okay. That's a little under. Okay. It's about 1.5 minutes. We'll move to the next slide. Good. A little under a minute and a half. I'll give you a minute and a half. All right. So now let me shut this timer. Uh, how was the passage overall? How was the passage? Was it easy, moderate, difficult to read? And how was the passage for you to remember the key points in terms of language and content? Moderate, easy to moderate. All right. Language, one is the language, one is the content, the text, right? It was easy to moderate. The language was a little difficult because you're talking about uh, an editorial on a law. All right. So the language will always be a little more difficult than, just a comment on, the cricket board's decision to make Gautam Gambhir the coach. But this is on a Supreme Court ruling. So obviously the language will be of moderate level difficulty. Excellent. All right, let's go to the usual first question. My first question is always either main point or primary purpose, sometimes central argument. All right. Now, the main point is the story of the passage, the gist of the passage in one line. The primary purpose is why did the author write the passage, right? Content, some people found it easy, some people found it moderate. That's the point. All right, what do you think is the main theme of the passage? And we learned that the correct option has to tell the story of the passage in one sentence. The wrong options may have a fact mentioned in the passage, but that's not the main point. It may be on the topic of the passage, but not on the specific point, which is the key to the passage. That is, it may be too broad, right? It may have some words or expressions which are not part of the passage, right? Mukti, to get the main point, you want to look at the passage again? All right, I'll give you 30 seconds for each slide. I'll give you 30 seconds per slide. Generally, you need not look at the. All right, let me do one thing. Y'all try to answer the question and then I will uh, explain the passage. I'll summarize the passage for you and you will know the main point. Just on your first reading of the passage, try to see which is the correct answer. Then I'll read the passage, I'll explain it to you, and I will give you a chance to change your answer if you want to. Is that clear? First, I want more answers. Only two answers in so far. One is B, one is D, which is promising. The first two answers are different. It's a promising thing that they've not there's some that my answers were probably confusing enough. Confused between B and D. Good. That confusion we will clear. After today, you will not be confused. All right. Some more answers. Some more. Okay. There is no 50-50. Mukti, you also tell me whether it's B or D. Choose any one and then I will read through the passage and we'll so when you are reading the passage, I told you the moment the first slide is done, you should have uh, mentally restated the key point in your own words, right? Okay, let's go. Some more answers please. Okay, let me go back. Let's start with the first slide. Two observations made in different contexts by the Supreme Court of India have raised relevant issues concerning personal liberty. So, the Supreme Court made two rulings in two different contexts, and both concern personal liberty, our right to freedom, our right to personal liberty. The cases related to actions under the PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act. You know what is money laundering? Black money being converted into white money. They use different means. They so so that means money has been washed. All the Where did you get this money from? Oh, I got it from this source. So any illegal money they've got through underhand means suddenly they have a source for it and they say, I got this money. So that is called money laundering. So cases related to Prevention of Money Laundering Act, PMLA, and the significance of these observation. Why is the editor commenting to it? The extent to which courts are inclined to protect personal liberty in the face of a determined government that wants its agencies to have their way. So, according to the editorial, one side you have a government which wants its agencies to do what they think is right, and one side the court is saying you can act, but there is a limit. We have to, the court says it's my duty to protect, it's our duty to protect the personal liberty of citizens. And so it's kind of a face off between a government which wants to do whatever it wants through its agencies and a court which wants to ensure that personal liberty of the citizens is protected. One, the first issue concerned the question whether an officer arresting a person on money laundering charges should demonstrate the need for the arrest for the action to be deemed valid. So when an officer arrests a person saying you have black money and you are trying to make that money look like it came from a proper legitimate source, that's what is money laundering. So when an officer comes to arrest a person on money laundering charges, should he first have some sort of document which shows that this arrest is necessary, that this case cannot proceed without the arrest. Okay, so for that action to be deemed valid. So if the author doesn't have enough rationale to prove that the arrest is necessary, then it can be deemed invalid. The other voice, shocked and revulsion. That means the court said, we are shocked and we hate it at the ease and quickness, how fast courts were staying reasoned orders granting bail. Now, when somebody is arrested, his lawyer obviously will post a bail application. And the Supreme Court has said that when orders have been given granting bail, courts have stayed these orders and have refused bail. And he says that the ease, the promptness with which they are doing this is shocking. These are the two issues. A bench headed by Sanjeev Khanna granted interim bail for the second time since his arrest in March to Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal in the course of a discussion on the legality of his arrest by the ED. So, how did this whole thing come about? Arvind Kejriwal's arrest by the ED under the PMLA scheme, and the court said second time we since his arrest in March we have granted bail, and he's been arrested again and again. The 64-page verdict ended with a reference to a larger bench. The question whether the enforcement directorate would have to prove the need or necessity to arrest a person. Shouldn't the enforcement directorate, can the enforcement directorate just go and arrest anybody randomly? Even if somebody is suspected of money laundering, they should first see if an arrest is necessary before effecting an arrest. All right. Section 19 of PMLA speaks of the arresting officer being required to have reason to believe that the person is guilty of money laundering. The arresting officer should be sure that there is a reason to suspect him and then only arrest him. Okay, all right. The next paragraph, I hope you understood this. 2 points the Supreme Court raised. One is that they have to prove, the arresting officer has to show justification for the arrest. And the second, that courts, can they really stay orders to grant bail to somebody who is arrested? The PMLA casts a statutory obligation on an officer. There is an obligation on the officer, obligation by law, to record reasons for the arrest and convey grounds for the arrest to the accused. When an ED officer or anybody goes to arrest somebody on grounds of money laundering charges, he should tell the accused the reasons for the arrest, and he should record the reasons for the arrest. Whether these obligations include a duty to demonstrate the necessity to arrest the person will have to be decided. Is an arrest necessary? I mean, we suspect you of money laundering. You can go and tell Arvind Kejriwal, but do you have to arrest him? You can prove it, and later he can be arrested. So this was the latest thing that the Supreme Court has said. Does the PMLA says the officer should record reasons, but should also demonstrate whether there is a real necessity to put that person behind bars. The existence of a power is not sufficient justification for exercising it. Just because I have a power of arresting somebody doesn't mean I can go around arresting people randomly. I have it, but I have to exercise it only when necessary. The heartening feature of the court's order is that it lays down the view that the arresting officer's decision on arrest should be rooted in compliance. Compliance means following with statutory orders. I'll give you the words related to that, okay? And one that a magistrate or judge can examine. So the Supreme Court has said that the officer's decision has to be according to the statutory requirements given in law, and something that a judge or a magistrate can read. It also has reiterated that arrests under the PMLA cannot be on a mere whim, just because, acha, Kejriwal, let me arrest him. Cannot be done like that. That decisions during investigation should consider exculpatory material too. Culpa means blame. All right. So exculpatory means what are the reasons for charging him with something? What are the reasons for which he should not be? Is there any evidence that works in the favor of the person who's being arrested? That also has to be recorded, not merely material against everything has to be mentioned. Not going to happen. The other issue regarding another bench is shock over courts staying bail orders. Bail orders are being given, somebody is arrested, the lawyer gets a bail order from the court, and the court, another court is stopping the bail order. Touches a key aspect of contemporary judicial functioning. This is where Supreme Court has raised questions and doubts on how the judiciary is functioning now. The vehemence with which the prosecution argues its case. If a prosecution argues its case really forcefully, be it against bail or challenging a court's order granting it, seems to be a major factor in the approach of higher courts. So, courts seem to be basing their decisions on the, not on the case and whether a person ought to be given bail or not. Not that. They seem to be granting bail. Their decision seems to be based on something else. On what? On the forcefulness, on the persuasiveness of the lawyer's argument. So, suppose the enforcement directorate has a good lawyer who says no, bail shouldn't be granted, Kejriwal is a threat to the nation, blah blah blah, then court seems to say, acha, bahut acha argument hai, let's go and grant him bail. This is the meaning. A stay on reason orders ought to be rare exceptions based on grounds such as perversity by the lower court, not done as a matter of routine. These stays against bail order should only happen if the lower court has done something wrong, but not as a matter of routine. All right. So now, what do you think is the first paragraph talks about the two concerns of the Supreme Court, one on reasons for arresting a person, justification for arresting a person. That reason has to be recorded. The second is how courts should not just give stay orders against bail, right? The two points that the Supreme Court raised against the way the PMLA has been functioning or has been implemented. Right? This is our understanding. Your confusion, most of you seem to be between B and D. Now, it said concerning the prevention, it's primary thing was personal liberty, protection of personal liberty in the implementation of PMLA, and court orders staying bail. Did it talk about the complexity of legal procedures in financial crimes? Yes, it is B, because second one makes it too specific. The recent Supreme one is not all judicial decisions in India. This is also too general. It's about the Supreme Court's concerns, and the concern is about personal liberty under the PMLA. And it says there have to be statutory safeguards for arrests and bail decisions. So that comprehensively takes everything: arrests, statutory safeguards, law and requirements, and bail decisions. Bail decision hasn't been mentioned here. That was the second. It's not recent judicial decisions is very general. It was a Supreme Court's ruling in two cases. So D is perfect. B has some parts which is correct, but it's little too general. Doesn't uh, capture the main points. So the correct answer is option D. All right, next one. Which of the following can be inferred from the passage? Take 20 to 30 seconds to read all the options. I will take you back to the passage to read it each slide for 30 seconds if you want. No, no, you should never apologize when your answer is wrong. You learn more from a wrong answer than a correct one. So you make mistakes, I'm there to explain it. Right now you know, okay, this was too general, that's why I made a mistake. So next time an option like this comes, I know I shouldn't mark it. Okay, read the options quickly, and then we will go and look at uh, if you want, I can show you the passage again. What can you infer from the passage? Remember, if they ask you entire passage inference, unless it's in very rare cases, it has to align with the main point. Of course, CLAT and ALET have sometimes given a question based on all the options from one paragraph, but here it's the main point of the passage. If you've understood it, you will get the inference correct. The wrong options will be out of scope of the passage, or contradict the passage, or have a word or a term which is not there in the passage. All right. So, arrests under the PMLA should be in accordance with statutory requirements protecting personal liberty. Looks okay. The judiciary has previously ignored personal liberty and statutory cases. Well, the judiciary is active now. Doesn't mean it might have. This is this. Oh, sorry, I showed the answer. It doesn't mean it might have previously ignored this bit. Why is it now that the Supreme Court has it? But we can't be sure. We only know that now the Supreme Court has said, look, in Arvind Kejriwal's case, in what happened with the ED, this is not correct. What it had done previously has not been given in the passage. So that cannot be inferred. Judicial decisions under the PMLA always prioritize, this word makes it wrong. Yes, the judiciary, it's become a case of the judiciary versus the government, in terms of the government feeling that, there are certain things that the executive needs to do, but judiciary is saying, fine, you do your work, but within these limits. So always we can't. The Supreme Court's ruling have always resulted in stringent restrictions. No, this particular one has put stringent restrictions on the government. So the word always in CND makes that's the extreme word there. Whenever you get always, never, all, therefore the correct answer is A, as all of you got it right. Perfect. All right. I like the way you're thinking and giving me reasons for your answers. Okay, very nice. Aman, good work. Okay, Aman's giving me an answer and then saying, I think this is right because of this. That's the way you should think. Okay, I think you're already thinking like lawyers, all of you. Good. All right. Question 3. What does the author assume? Assume means what is the author taking for granted. That's an assumption. You must have done it in your CR classes. What's an assumption? An assumption is something that is the basis of a claim. So here he is saying this is the author's claim. So what is he taking for granted, or on what basis is he making this claim? That is his assumption. The vehemence with which the prosecution argues its case, be it against bail or challenging a court's order granting it, seems to be a major factor in the approach of higher courts. So, this was in regard to the Supreme Court's criticism of the courts granting stay orders on bails. Bail was given, they gave a stay order, so the bail was could not be given, right? So the person could not walk away free on bail, and it said that what was happening was judicial functioning, contemporary judicial functioning was all wrong. The vehemence with which the prosecution argues its case, the better. It all seems to be depending on the charisma of the prosecutor. If he argued his case beautifully, whether it's against bail or challenging a court's order and granting it, that seems to be the crucial factor in the approach of higher courts. Higher courts seem to be, that's what it is saying. So what is he assuming when he's saying this? A, the prosecution's arguments are always persuasive enough to sway the courts in their favor. The intensity of the prosecution's argument have an impact on the court's decisions. The prosecution's arguments are routinely dismissed by higher courts without due consideration, or the author assumes that the prosecution's arguments are primarily ceremonial in nature. Know the meaning of ceremonial? Just there for ceremony, doesn't have any purpose. So, what do you think is the answer? Okay, give me the answer number next time, huh? 16 of you have got 5 answers so far only. I want all 16 answers keyed in. Commit yourself to an answer and put it in. And don't be afraid to make a mistake. Yeah. So the prosecution, the court's order seems to be influenced not by the merits of the case, but the force with which the prosecution argues. That means the court is assuming that there is a connection between, or that the manner of the prosecution's argument has an impact on the court's decision, right? So the intensity of the prosecution's argument, vehemence, intensity, have an impact. The more vehement it is, yes, court is impressed. It's not the case itself. Does this case deserve bail? Do I need to prove that this case deserves bail? Is the evidence always persuasive enough, right? And it doesn't say it's always in their favor. Then, second, routinely dismissed is not. They are saying that courts are impacted by prosecution's argument. All right, and ceremonial is totally against. So the correct answer is B, which all of you got. Good. All right. Next time we're making the passages a little tougher. We'll make the options a little tougher. But for 3, 4 sessions, let's do it where you understand the reasons for eliminating an option, and then we move to the good. All right. Which of the following is true according to the information given in the passage? Which of the following is true according to the information given in the passage? Anybody wants to see the passage? Let me know. If you remember it, then we can do without it. But if you want to see the passage, I can show it to you each slide for 20 seconds. Give me the question number. Anvi, Mukti. Mukti has question number. Supreme Court routinely allows stays, the lower courts allow stays, not the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has been objecting to this, right? Please show Anvi. You got it right, I thought. No, Anvi wanted B. All right, let me show it to you. First, did you read all the options? Supreme Court allows stays. Supreme Court supports arrests under PMLA. Supreme Court says that granting bail should be rare, and Supreme Court rarely prioritizes compliance with statutory requirements. Okay, let's go back to the passage quickly. 20 seconds for the first one. It said that you should show, the first paragraph is Anvi, you should show that there is necessity to arrest a person. The second one is courts should not just give stays on bail orders, they should make sure that these stay orders are rare and not routinely given, right? So if you look at the answers, question 2 is done, question 3 is done. All right. So it is not Supreme Court that routinely allows stays, it is the lower courts. Supreme Court has consistently supported arrest. Nothing in the passage says that. Supreme Court has emphasized that the stay should be rare exceptions, not routine actions. All right. It rarely prioritizes compliance. It is asking, it is stressing, it is emphasizing there should be compliance. Therefore, only C is aligns with the passage. All right. Question 5. What is the meaning of the word vehemence as it is used in the passage? Violence, apathy, passion, ennui. What is the meaning of vehemence? If I accuse you of something and you deny the charges vehemently, what does that mean? Vehemence, vehemently means violence, apathy, passion, or ennui. I'll tell you the meaning of all the words. Vehemence means passion, force, or forcefulness. Okay. Uh, you say no with great energy. Apathy means indifference. All right. Ennui means boredom. No E. All right. Okay. So vehemence means C, passion, or force, forcefulness. All right. What is a synonym of the word exculpatory? What is the synonym of the word To exculpate someone means what? Culpa means blame, and any words which seems starts with ex generally means take out. That means to free from blame. All right. To blame somebody is to incriminate somebody. All right. Indict means to formally charge someone with an offense. When a court says that yes, you have committed, that is an indictment. All right. Okay. Most suitable title. Now, you either get main point, rarely do you get title, but sometimes ALET asks title. What happened? All right. Uh, or you get primary purpose of the passage. All right. Main point will be the story of the passage in one sentence. Title will be the story of the passage in one line or two, three words. Primary purpose will tell you why the author has written the passage. To discuss, to argue, to counter. All right. So, what are the key players here? It was on the Supreme Court ruling. The entire thing is on the Supreme Court ruling to do with personal liberty. Personal liberty, in which case? In the execution of PMLA. These are the three main words. So, only this has at least two of the three words, right? Justice system in India is too broad. This is just the topic. Impact of PMLA on financial crimes has not, he hasn't told. He just told impact of PMLA on personal liberty. Political implications of courts' decisions in India, not at all. That's also too broad. Excellent. So the correct answer is A, as all of you got it. Okay, next. What is the author's tone in the passage? He's talking of the Supreme Court's decisions. He's told you its rulings. He's told you what the Supreme Court said. So when the author reports somebody's views without adding his or her views, it is objective, neutral. If the author adds his own views, then it is subjective. In subjective, he can be positive, he can be negative. So, what do you think the author's tone was? Was it sentimental? Was it sarcastic? Did he use sarcasm, irony, or was it objective? This is what the Supreme Court said. This is what the Supreme Court said. This is what the Supreme Court said. Was it right, wrong? Callous is indifferent or unsympathetic actually. So it was just the author saying Supreme Court said this, said this, said this. Of course, there are parts where he says heartening. What was heartening was the court said. So obviously, the author approves of the Supreme Court ruling. The author is supporting the Supreme Court ruling. He is saying the Supreme Court has done the right thing. So if you had been given, okay, do you think the author tone about the Supreme Court ruling? Then you'll say the author's tone is positive, laudatory. Not, it's too extreme to say laudatory, high praise, but he's positive, he's supportive, right? Okay. Next, what is the opposite of the word revulsion? The shock and revulsion. What is the antonym? Antonym means opposite. What is the opposite of the word revulsion? Disgust, horror, aversion, attraction. Give me the question number, please. Okay, 8 till now it is. This is question 9. Okay. What happened? Huh? Sometimes my tablet does funny things. Revulsion, opposite, opposite. Revulsion means disgust or hatred. Opposite would be what? Its opposite is attraction. Revulsion means disgust. So its opposite is attraction. Got it? Okay. Now, there is a word here. Underline has gone. So I have underlined it. Do you think this word is correct? Shreya, generally we teach you every grammar topic in our paid classes because so far ALET and CLAT have only asked grammar in the sample questions. CLAT gives you grammar questions as one of the questions related to RC, which is the way I've asked. All right. But we teach you everything because they can change the pattern anytime. Uh, Generally, articles, prepositions, subject, verb, agreement. These are the three main ones. Know your articles, know a and the perfect usage. Know the correct usage of prepositions, tenses, and subject, verb, agreement. All right. Listen. Effect, yes, agree. Effect is a noun and effect is a verb. So Why does he have such an effect on you and I am not affected by him? But here the word affecting is correct. Affecting here means bringing about. So here, effect, the minister effected many changes in policy, means brought about. All right. So here, no change is required. A is the answer. I will do the explanations in detail in the next class. Your homework is find out affect, effect, the difference, and can effect be used in the way it has been used in this sentence. All right. Okay. There is a number here if anyone wants any inquiries on our courses, long term, short term, test series. Please call that number. Our counselors will talk to you. I will see you again next Monday at 8 p.m. with another passage. Uh, why? Why, Adita? What is the trapped part of it? No one is trapped. All of you are free. We did a passage on personal liberty today. All right. So, any questions? All right. See you guys. Bye bye.